BBC News Facebook Live. I'm Barry Caffrey here in Fulham in southwest London, just in front of Parsons Green, which you can see behind me. You can see all of the police officers, the police cars, and behind those you can see, probably just about make out, the fire brigade and the ambulance service. It was at 8:20 this morning that the police were alerted to this incident, this explosion on an underground train at Parsons Green Tube. It was a district line travelling eastbound from Wimbledon. We know that 22 people in total have presented themselves to hospital. 18 of those were brought by ambulance and 4 made their own way to hospital. We thankfully know that none of those injuries are thought to be life-threatening or serious. This is Parsons Green here. You can see the whole green, and just over to the very corner you might be able to just make out the White Horse pub. That's quite a popular pub in this location, and that's where many of the people gathered shortly after this incident. There was quite a lot of panic after 8:20 this morning. We have footage that emerged on Twitter, on social media, showing a flaming white container inside a carrier bag with a number of wires that were visible out of that carrier bag, and we now know that there was a timer associated with that. And there was a lot of panic when that went off. Now, the ambulance service were here within about 5 minutes after being called at 8:20 this morning, and fire crews and the British Transport Police, as well as the Metropolitan Police, were then down on the scene, and this whole police cordon was then placed across right here along the King's Road, the new King's Road where we were here, and up towards the Fulham Road around the other side. There's quite a large police cordon in place, and you can see the huge amount of media here, certainly international media, right around the place here. All of the camera crews, when this was treated as a terrorist incident, we found that out just after 10 o'clock this morning, and you can probably make out all of the police cars and the officers here as well. Many people living around here as well that we've been speaking to today, praising the emergency services and also thanking each other, because lots of the local coffee shops and news agents have opened their doors and allowed the locals to come in. Now, the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, has been speaking earlier. He said Londoners will pull together. And he also said that there will be a larger police presence across all of the transport systems today and, of course, into the weekend as well, and warned people to expect lots of people to be around the tube stations, at bus stations, and welcomed the increased police presence. If we make our way just up here, up towards the new King's Road, you might be able to just make out towards my right-hand side where the police cordon is, and down past that fire engine is where Parsons Green tube station is. It's quite a different tube station in that it is completely overground, and it's actually quite out in the open and in space. There are no tunnels through the tube station. It's on the District Line branch from Wimbledon that goes into Earl's Court and on towards Edgware Road. That tube is still clearly there. We're not able to see it here, but it's just beyond the trees. Clearly forensic work is taking place right now, and the District Line, of course, suspended all the way along from Wimbledon to Edgware Road. We've got no services running. As I said, we had footage showing a flaming white container inside a carrier bag with a number of wires visible out of it. Witnesses have described this as a burning fireball or a wall of flame, and clearly a lot of panic happened once that went off. And we heard from eyewitnesses this morning saying everybody was just trying to get out of that tube and onto the eastbound platform as soon as they can. And you can just imagine the panic that was down there. We spoke to some of the different people throughout the course of the morning, and they spoke of that panic. I'm just going to bring you up here now, and we're going to hopefully speak to the leader of Hammersmith and Fulham Council, who has been speaking about this. In fact, you can probably just make out behind me all of the international media. Stephen, if I can just grab you here. This is Stephen Cowan, the leader of Hammersmith and Fulham Council. A very different morning and afternoon, Stephen. I can't imagine you've been expecting this.
No, we weren't expecting it, but we were certainly very well prepared. We have over 35 council officers who are prepared for a serious emergency like this, and we work very closely with other emergency services, the police, the ambulance, the health, to make sure that if anything happens like this, we've got a process in place that allows lockdown.
8:20 this morning, the height of rush hour for commuters, and so many people using that district line service to take themselves from Putney and Wimbledon into Earl's Court to often interchange there for the Piccadilly line. It really is a very, very busy commuter service at that time of the morning. What's the advice for people now who may be concerned about using the tube?
I mean, I think people have got to make their own assessments about how they live their lives. What I would certainly say is that we cannot let the terrorists try and change what is an amazing city with a vibrancy and colour in the way we live our lives, because if we do, we're giving in to those people. So I would say that this is a device that failed to work properly, that what we saw in the emergency service was a complete lockdown to make sure that everything was safe. And that is a continuous thing that's been going on. But people should be reassured that the emergency services are very effectively onto this.
And of course, the ambulance service is here within 5 minutes of that first call. And clearly then, you know, within a couple of minutes we had British Transport Police and we had the Met as well. There's a huge police presence here. We know Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London, has said that there will be a larger police presence across the weekend. Is that something that you will welcome, at underground stations and on the transport systems?
Sadiq's office were immediately in touch, as were every aspect of the infrastructure you have in an incident like this. Sadiq's absolutely right to say that we need to put London on a heightened warning. But we've been at a level of warning for quite some time. So these incidents do happen, but what you've just seen this morning is the emergency services operating in a way that made sure that everyone was protected. Now, we were lucky in this incident because it didn't take any fatalities, and a lot more people could have been hurt who weren't. But we have to remain continuously vigilant and to tackle these terrorists, and I would just say that we can't also, as well as having all the responses from the emergency services, we also have to respond as a culture and a city. And we can't let those people try and take us into a darker place, which is what they're trying to do. This is an amazing place to live. London is a mixed city, people of every single diversity of lifestyle, and that's what we should celebrate here and stop those people from ever trying to knock us off that.
And of course, as you alluded to, 22 people we know are being treated in local hospitals around here, but none of those thought to be in a serious or life-threatening condition. Many of the injuries are facial burns and minor injuries. I suppose we should be thankful for that, really.
Well, I would send my absolute sympathies to them. And I met people, I had one lady crying on my shoulder earlier because her grandson was on the platform when the bomb had gone off. So people are absolutely traumatised by this. But at the same time, then we should be thankful that this wasn't worse. I would just say, down here, just down the road, there's someone who's brought 3 pizzas from an Italian restaurant to hand out. Up on North End Road, where there's a lot of Middle Eastern shops, they're handing out free food and coffees, and Arab shops are doing that. All elsewhere in the borough, I've seen people coming around saying, does anyone need phones charging or using a cup of tea? The community is really pulled together, and that's what those people can never break, because we're just so much better than the terrorists.
And it is a very multicultural community around here as well. Yeah. Many people will know the White Horse pub just at the other side of Parsons Green, and I know many of those people converged on that pub this morning, as they did in the various coffee shops around here. But what struck me on the walk down from Fulham Broadway was the amount of newsagents and nail bars and all different types of shops that had those signs outside welcoming people in if they needed to use the toilet or if they needed tea or coffee. Is that the kind of community spirit in London here?
We have an amazing borough, and it is extremely diverse. And so you do, on the one hand, have a White Horse pub, which is a great place to go, but at the same time you come to North End, and it's one of the most mixed and vibrant places in London. And what happens is it all just works together. Now, that doesn't often happen in history, but you have these cities that do this, but there's a special place and time now in London, and whilst it might be under threat from terrorists, what we have to recognise is that we're just better than that, and we're not going to be cowed by cowards who have nothing other to do than to try and kill kids on the way to school, people on their way to work, and innocent people who have nothing to do with their concerns.
And for councils, local councils like yourself in Hammersmith and Fulham, What do you do in terms of moving forward and looking to the future after something like this happens?
Well, there's any number of things could happen to any area, so we are well prepared. As I said, we've got a lot of people who are continuously trained in such emergencies happening. When this morning's incident happened, we automatically went to the Gold Command structure, which meant this was run by all our services, came under the auspices of one command run out of a central command point, and we've got very well organised at knowing how to deal with these types of issues. So we would deal with that. If something had gone worse, then we would have prepared to be able to evacuate people, find them homes and all sorts of other measures. But we continuously look at how to make sure that if anything happens, that we're there for our residents and businesses. And that's what I think you saw today.
And finally, Stephen, what's your advice to Londoners, to people living in this area, perhaps some of them who may be a bit scared today or clearly not used to seeing this level of international media presence here?
I mean, I think my advice, certainly to people in my own friends and family, which is all I'm capable of advising, everyone else has got to make their own minds up, is be reassured. Be reassured that there's a lot of people on this, and live the life you want to live. Don't let any bully or terrorist try and knock you off that. And that's what these people are trying to do, and I think we should carry on, and as usual, as those posters so aptly often point out.
Okay, Stephen, thank you very much for your time. That was Stephen Cowan, the leader of Hammersmith and Fulham Council. Well, we're just standing right in front of Parsons Green here in southwest London, and just behind me over on my right hand side you should be able to make out just about two of the police cars in the corner. Just to the right of those police cars is the White Horse pub, which many people in this area will know, and beyond the White Horse, down on the left hand side, which you won't be able to make out, just beyond those trees is Parsons Green tube station, and that is where the incident happened at 8:20 this morning. As I said, the ambulance service were alerted. They were here within about 5 minutes, and we know that 22 people in total taken to hospital, but none of their injuries are thought to be serious or life-threatening. It was, of course, the height of the rush hour. The train was packed with commuters, and footage has emerged on social media showing a flaming white container inside a carrier bag with a number of wires visible, and witnesses have described this as a fireball or a wall of flame coming from the bag. But it doesn't look like the blast had caused any significant or extensive damage to the tube carriage itself. But a very, very busy time of the morning for the district line. So many people use that district line to make their way from Wimbledon, all of the stations along through Putney, in towards Parsons Green, and it would have been going towards Earl's Court. So a really, really busy time at 8:20 in the morning. You're watching a BBC News Facebook Live with me, Barry Caffrey, here in Fulham in southwest London. If you do have any questions or comments, please put them in just on the Facebook page there. I'm going to read some of them out to you now. Hilary says, "So sad for you all." Yvonne, well done to all of the emergency services, and clearly they're all here on the scene here. And we've got Lane, who says, "Love London, so sad to hear this." Now, as I said, the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, said this morning that Londoners can expect lots of extra staff to be involved at all of the tube stations and across the transport networks, given all of the events that are taking place around the capital this evening and this weekend. But this is the scene here at Parsons Green in Fulham in southwest London. You can see just behind me the cordon, and right behind the cordon all of the police officers. And as Stephen Cowan, the leader of Hammersmith and Fulham Council, said there, London absolutely is open, and people really need to just continue and go about their business as best as they can.